Hey everybody, Armand here from Chi Skills, and today we're talking about standing practice. I'm going to do a couple of videos about this. I got a question about it and I feel it's maybe good to lead you back to the absolute basics and go step by step through the process and make sure you've got it. So let's go! Okay everybody, let's talk about standing practice for now. It's the first thing I've learned. I went to my first teacher. I didn't have a clue, Tai Chi. It sort of appealed to me. I came there. I thought we're going to do what I looked up on the internet and what I thought that Tai Chi was. And he says, we're going to stand. And we stood the whole hour. And I was like, whoa, what's this? What's this? And he said to me, well, Armand, if you want to learn this, you have to do this at least 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes. And I'm the kind of guy that does it. And I did that for 8 years straight, I think, maybe longer. And we went on holiday, did it everywhere around the world, on campsites, behind trees, wherever. And even Didi, who's behind the camera now, would just call like, oh, you got 10 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go. It was an adventure. So this standing practice is awesome. My teacher explained it to me. He said, we're building construction, structure, and it's going to be the mold for how the Tai Chi form is going to feel throughout. It's becoming our basic model for how, you could say that the form becomes like the standing practice in movement. So the opening of the system is the first thing we want to learn, and that's what we're going to look at today. Because I got a question, and this person finds it hard to relax the bottom half of his body. He says the top half can relax and then from the waist down it's not happening. And so let's build it up and let's start with the first opening. That's what we're going to talk about the joints again today. That's the first opening of the 3 openings of Qigong, namely opening the joints, that's 1. Opening the feeling of life force, energy. And the third is opening the mental space. Those are the 3 openings of Qigong. This is standing Qigong and it starts with joints. So we have to establish a yin and a yang. The yang part is the upward, the expanding part. The yin part is going down to the earth, is the pulling part in this case. So, and that's probably the yin part is the most difficult for people to understand. So for standing practice, the first thing we have to do is open the spine. We have to open the joints of the spine. We have to make sure that there's extra length in the spine. But to make something longer, we have to make sure that 2 ends will move away from each other. It's not only the crown that moves up and then the rest does nothing, because that's where the trouble starts. Okay, so let's go into the exercise and we're establishing a foundation first. And that begins with the feet. I start shoulder width apart, and the feet I've learned to keep them parallel, like on 2 skis and going straight ahead, right? This is important because this gives a balance between the front and the back, right? If I open the feet like this, there's a disbalance. For some people it might feel like, oh, I can relax a little bit more, but in a short time you will understand why it's not going to work. You're still pushing off if you're doing that. Okay, so I keep them shoulder width apart, straight ahead, and from there I'm gonna, and I've learned this from my teacher, I'm gonna drop. And I wait for the point where my body catches myself. And that's the point I start with. If I look down, my knees and my toes are sort of aligned with each other, right? My knees are never over my toes, they're safely in between, but if I look down, I have a pretty good alignment between the 2. That's important, right? The hip, the knees, and the ankles are aligned with each other. There's nothing in or out or whatever. They're nice. And there's a triangle shape between the hip, the knee, and the ankle. That's a triangle shape right there, right? That's the first one. The other one, there's a triangle going from the knee to the ankle and the toe. That's a triangle as well. And these 2 triangles need to be aligned with each other. Very important. So that's the basic foundation for the standing practice, is that we're going to sit. right? It's sitting in standing practice. So, and I think that's funny. The other thing is that we want to establish before we open the whole spine up, is that we start with the yang and with the crown. On an in-breath, I stretch the crown a little bit to the ceiling. I make sure that the vertebrae, there's going to be an extra little bit space between the vertebrae, really lengthen the spine. But this is the yang part we're doing now. See, I'm pushing up and making sure I get a little bit of length there. I leave the arms for now. I'm just only worried now about the spine. Well, I'm not worried, but you get what I mean. And from that point, if I've established an openness in the spine on this part, I have to take care of the yin part, and that's the bottom half. And this is where it mostly goes wrong, I think, for people. Because if you keep standing like this and only stretch the spine from this point going up, you will find that you're still pushing off with your legs and you cannot relax down because there's no yin established yet. So in order to open the spine, what I just told already is that we need 2 points. So I've established the yang going up. Now I have to establish the yin going down. So I keep this point at where it is now, and from there, the bottom half of my body, the hip, is going to pull slightly on the spine and make it longer, going that way, while still keeping a connection with the ceiling that way. And now I've established a yin and a yang in the spine, and that's very important. If I don't do it, you can see it. Let's go. I just lost it. See, now everything starts to float, and I don't want to float. I want to ground myself by pulling the hip a little bit away from this established point here and making sure that the spine lengthens down as well. And that's going to make it easier to sink and release to the ground. If you don't do it, you'll float, you'll be pushing off. If you first establish that, then everything can relax. So, and why is it so important to open the spine? Well, the power comes from the spine in Tai Chi. Power comes from the spine anyway. If you walk outside, go to your car and start pushing your car, you will find that you're opening the joints of the spine automatically, both directions. You need to ground yourself to push. You cannot only push, you have to ground out to push. Well, we're doing the same thing here, except we're not pushing anything now. We're just opening the spine in both directions. And if you start with this, you will find that, it starts making sense. We established that both directions, the joints are opening, and that's how the power can work. See, with rebounding force and the martial training of Tai Chi, we're always talking about dropping the hip and stretching the spine, because that's where power comes from. It's the dropping of the hip and stretching of the spine that releases the power, like in Fa Jin training, things like that. So the whole training of standing practice is a preparation for all that stuff as well, for your form and anything else. So it's very deep training. There's a lot of things going on. Okay, now for the arms. I'll teach you the first one I've learned is the arm circle. So I've established the yang, the yin again, and from there I take an arm circle. And this arm circle is going to be yang. From the shoulder, I open all the joints a little bit in length, and the fingers seek each other. And I stretch and open there the joints. Well, I learned this one first. Why? Because my teacher said the whole Tai Chi form is round. Every shape we're doing has the same circle shape. It may be a little bit wider, it may be a little bit smaller, but there's this openness in the rounding of the shape of the arms, and that's what we're looking for. So establish the yin and the yang in the spine, establish the yang in the arms, and then we can look at what's next in the next video. So hope this one helped. If you like it, like and subscribe, and if you already done so, thank you, and see you in the next one.